And as an early component of this process, which would I think allow us to engage those neighborhoods a little bit and get some input. All right, let's go next. All right, ground rules. In the interest of speed, I have put together a list of ground rules that typically work for groups, but I'm going to ask you guys at the end of this if you have any additional ground rules that you want to throw out, okay? Because we're going to be getting into stuff. We're going to be talking about stuff. There's going to be moments where you are going to agree and other moments where you may disagree. And so these ground rules, I think, will serve us well. Number one, everybody talks. So if you're sitting here and you're thinking, maybe you're not going to have to talk, probably will call on you. But remember, you always have a pass. So anytime you don't feel like talking, if you show up 2 months from now and you don't feel like talking, it's okay. Say, I'll take a pass here. But the point is to get you engaged. One conversation, this always happens. It's difficult for us to have a conversation as a group if we've got a bunch of people talking. Take a stand. Instead of just agreeing with somebody, maybe if you agree, just say ditto. Okay, if you're called on, say ditto. But if you believe something, why do most meetings, or why are they terrible? Nobody says what they really think, right? What we're trying to get to is what you really think. So take a stand. Question first. This is when we start disagreeing. So if there's a moment where you disagree with somebody, all I would challenge you to do in saying it, so think of these two options. That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life. Or tell me a little bit more about that idea. How do you think that would work, right? So question first. Elmo, who knows what this is? What is it?
Oh, if somebody's speaking length.
Good. What's it stand for?
I can't
So
remember the concept.
yeah, so it stands, it's an acronym. It stands for enough. Let's move on. Okay, so I'll maybe say Elmo. You guys can say Elmo. I would say maybe leave it to me, at least in the first couple of meetings. And then you guys, there's a very nice way to say it. It just lets people know, hey, you didn't get to the point. You've been talking. I try to limit to say 2 or 3 minutes. Get right to it. E-manners, everybody knows e-manners. Start and end on time, my responsibility, but you guys can flag me on it. If we're running over, if we haven't started on time, welcome to say something. Hey, Jeff, what was that reading you said?
Like what's the man that that's.
Oh, sorry, I should. So it just means being on your phone during a meeting. Dad, right? Taking a call. Who's been in a meeting where somebody actually takes a call? Anybody? Right. Okay. So those e-manners would say, hey, that's not a good idea, right? Issue board, there are going to be things where we're going to run into them, but they're not the topic of conversation. Now, this will be hard and I will help you with it, right? So if we're talking about something and you say, you know what, I've always hated college students, but we're talking, well, I love you, Daniel. But if we're talking about transportation and, you know, something else that's unrelated, I may say, can we add that to the issues board and then come back to it at the end of the meeting? I'm okay with coming back to it at the end of the meeting. I value what you're saying. I just know that I've got to keep this group on track. Is there any ground rule that I have missed? Think about it for a second. Okay. Is there anything that you look up there and you said, e-manners is the dumbest rule? I don't think we need it. I'd like to be on my phone the entire time. Anybody? Okay. All right. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept these, a second, and then we're going to take a vote. Okay. What do I got? Motion to accept. Council is ready to go. Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor, raise your hand.
Fine.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, see, I was oh, see, thought. All right, thanks for doing that, guys. I was, okay. Go back one. Yes, the issues board we talked about. Now you can go to sports. All right, so here's our introductions. Here's what I want you to do, guys. Tell me who you are. Tell the group who you are, not just me. Who you representing? What hat are you wearing? Okay, what? And maybe it's nobody. Maybe it's just me, and I live in a neighborhood. And I'm a resident. That's okay too. All right, but if you're representing somebody or a group, let us know. Borough, community borough connection. How are you connected? I can sort of envision planning commission, right? I led, you know, representing planning. What are you most proud of in Indiana? I'm Guys, I'm thinking this is I have an ulterior motive here. What I'm trying to do is get to this. We've been talking to people already a little bit in the community, listening to what they're most proud of. I want to see what you guys are most proud of, okay? Um, what do you bring that can contribute to the success of this group? Like, what is it? I would say for me, I would be like, get to the point person, right? Or maybe I would say, talk louder. What I would say is I would be quick to say, hey, can talk louder because I can't hear you. Try to think about Luke would be drilling down on the issues. Right? That's what you bring, right? You drill down on the issues. What are the moving parts?
I was gonna go with amazing head of hair, but drilling down on the issue is good too.
And then the last, what is one thing that will keep you coming back? I'm interested in this because once you tell me this, I'm gonna try to make sure that you get what you're looking for, okay? And I think other people will too, all right? So let's start with, I'm gonna start with you guys, because you guys, yes, because it's good. We need to get introduced a little bit too, so go ahead.
Hi, my name is Zach Hollingshad. I am here with Jeff. I'm with Stewart Consulting. I've lived around the borough for like, 10 years of my life. I'm a college student. I came up here at IUP. I'm originally from like Bull Valley area, and so I'm from County. That's where I'm currently. But I have experience living in the borough. And thing I'm most proud of about it, I mean, I really like Philadelphia Street. I think it's a very signature part of the town. I think it is, I'm always, it's always like something about being on Philly Street. Right. And I hopefully will bring some design to the comp plan, also just some content creation. Making maps, kind of doing a lot of different things. And
Contribute to the success of the group. I guess I should ask a better question. Why would we want you part of the group? Yes, you can make maps, but like, I'm gonna pick on you a little bit. Like, what is it about you that's gonna make this group work?
I care about Indiana Borough. Like I said, I spent a lot of time here, and I'd like to see thrive in the future.
Okay,
So that motivates me to work in the different.
that works. All right. What needs to happen for you to keep coming back?
What you think about that? I'm happy. I'm content.
That's true. I know Zach pretty well. Nick, actually, let's jump over because Nick, just say that. Go Nicole. Yes.
I'm Nicole Seavis, here from the borough. I'm new to the borough manager's position, but I've been with Indiana Borough for 20 years. I think that's what I'm most proud of. I lived in Indiana Borough for 30 years. I raised some kids here. And I'm proud of this town. I mean, I love that we can walk this town day and night and feel safe and comfort and that. I think I can bring some knowledge of, I'm here to learn because planning is not my forte, I could say, but also to keep Jeff in check when it comes to spending money. Because I'm here too, like it's the residents' money, we gotta look at that. It's our taxpayers that are paying for this. And I would love to see some young kids stay in this town. I got 2 kids that left, I would, I'd love to see these young kids come back to this town. And
What do we need?
how do we get them here?
What do we need to do to keep you covered?
The drinks, the snacks.
Spending money.
We still need drinks.
All right, drinks and snacks. All right, let's go back over here. Nick, now you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Nicholas Benoni. I'm also working with Stewart Group Consulting. And also I am a resident in the borough. I've lived here for about 2 years, and that's kind of the segue into my connection to the borough. So I kind of have an outside perspective. I guess the borough, I grew up in York County, Pennsylvania. I came here about 2 years ago and haven't left, graduated and still left because I think, just to be positive for it, I think sometimes you go to a comprehensive plan, you say this is wrong, we need to fix this, but I think Indiana's unique because there is a lot of things that it does well. And mainly I'd say it has an identity. So where I grew up, it's a lot of towns that look like, Oakland Ave in White Township, KFC, Popeyes, and that's not a town. That's anywhere USA. And I think Indiana has an identity and that kept me around. I love the walkability and yeah, and I think it's important work. In terms of skills, mainly I'd say my skills are, I'm a data guy, numbers guy. Also do some mapping as well. So what I care about is how many people are here, where do they live, things like that, where do they work, where do they spend their money? And I would like to think that I have skills in looking at numbers, working with them to produce meaningful insight. And something that's going to keep me coming back is I currently during the day work from home, so some good human interaction is always good. So that'll probably keep me coming.
Can I use the word energy, good energy?
Yeah.
Or, because I just put, it just needs to have people here. That's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's go back over here, Ben. Ben Ford, I'm a borough council. I represent the second ward. I'm on the community development committee. I've been on the council. This is my 8th year, my final year, so I'll cycle off of council. Just keep repeating that fact. It's true. But I'll be off council by the time we wrap this process up, so I'll be a citizen by the time I'm done with this. And so I'm proud of Indiana because it seems to buck a lot of trends in Western Pennsylvania in terms of not entirely demographics, but in terms of sort of legal leaning, in terms of being a welcoming community, the way it looks in many ways. In terms of the fact in the last census, this was the only little spot that didn't go negative in the last census across most of Western Pennsylvania, except for Pittsburgh. So I mean, I think it's a lot of things that we got going here for us, and hoping that we can plan for a bright future through this process. In terms of what I contribute, I have a working understanding of zoning and planning, but not great. Some concept of it. I hate unfinished things, and so I will help try to keep these moving forward. I kind of wanted it done before I left council, actually. But I can provide that sort of drive on it, I guess. And then well, keep me coming back as you folks. Actually, I'll apologize. I have to go to a thesis defense here at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to leave. I was looking forward to meeting everybody and hearing about this stuff. I have to split here, so I'm hoping to get you all know y'all better. Weeks and months. Thank you, Ben. That's good. I want to ask you before you take off with the this, what did you say here? We're bucking a trend. And you said because of politics? You got a liberal county. Liberal, okay, okay. Progressive county. It's not like, yeah, that's a place to be. I was gonna say progressive. Because angry, no. What you got, right? Whatever. I mean, it doesn't look like a council in a lot of places. And the community keeps building, right? So it's not the council, it's the community that goes for it. All right, so forward thinking is a good way to state that. What was the other thing that you said there?
That's what we're saying. Exactly. That's why we chose to use that. That's why we chose to use that, not the other ones.
And the other one is demographic, right? Yeah, this community has been shrunk, unlike almost all the other communities in the world.
So when you say demographics, you mean young people?
It just hasn't shrunk. We got young people coming in, trying to keep some of them stay here. I think a good plan would find ways to keep IEP students, right?
Yeah.
But we don't have that
Yeah.
plan drain.
Yeah.
Or recruit students from Carnegie. Right, think about it, yes.
So did I capture here? I think demographics, we're not shrinking, politics, we're forward thinking body in terms of elected officials. Okay, all right, good, thank you. And good luck at the dissertation. Trey.
Hello, everybody. My name is Trajan Jones, and I'm representing the borough. I'm the planning secretary. My borough connection, well, not necessarily raised in the borough, but I'm from Indiana, raised and lived here my whole life. What am I most proud of? I'm probably most proud of the resiliency of Indiana. Kind of to what Ben said, a lot of small towns in this area kind of gotten smaller, they've kind of downsized, see a lot of lack of a lot of stuff. But Indiana, I feel like we've been able to at least maybe not grow, but maintain what we have been. And what I think I can contribute to the success of this group, I think I can bring a level of organization, hopefully keeping everybody on the same track as far as where we're going to be meeting, what we're going to be discussing, things along those terms. And it's one thing that must happen to be engaged. It just be a good discussion. I've studied planning, so I like this kind of talk, this topic. And yeah, just have a good discussion would be an opportunity that. All I have to do there.
So good discussion. So what's gonna keep it, so as long as it's not just me talking and it's everybody else talking.
Yeah.
Right, okay. And tell me what we're most proud of.
Most proud of, like I said, kind of going off of what Ben said, just the resiliency of Indiana.
Okay,
With when IUP kind of decreased a little bit, it didn't really affect the rest of the town. They kind of tried to maintain some
Okay.
level of interest.
so the thing you're most proud of is that we're, help me finish this. Resilient, but what does that mean?
We're not downside.
So we could just check what Ben said?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I'm not trying to,
Yeah,
that's what you're truly saying.
No, I'm saying like I said, with a lot of small towns, they kind of went away. A lot of the people, a lot of the business, Indiana, not necessarily. didn't have anything going.
Proud of our stable economy.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, proud of the stable economy.
All right, that's good. Who's next? Over on this side.
Me, I'm Luke Advisor. I'm the city council person. In the first ward, fun fact, you're in the first ward now, not the third ward.
That's right, it changed.
Yes.
And so who am I representing? I think officially it's the Community Development Committee, I believe is the technical, but from here from council.
Who else though? You can wear more than one hat here. Is there anybody else you're thinking like?
Business owner, family individual, I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm also very religious. And
Okay.
so I think that is a under served demographic in the political field because it's not supposed to be in the political field. And so it gets swept aside and ignored and demonized often. And I think that's quite unfair. What am I proud of Indiana? We're stubborn. I consider that a positive thing. There's a lot of things in this community that if you put it on paper, would shock people that's here when it comes to, elected representatives. I think it's the state, the Senate Majority Leader, for example.
Right.
Dave Reed was the House Majority Leader.
Right.
You have, there's a college in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you have building projects that people don't think would ever happen. I mean, there's just there's a lot of people in this community, both Borough and Wayne Township, that isn't afraid to do something regardless of whether or not other people think it can be done. And I think that is a testament to the community. What do I think it can bring to achieve success?
Now, hang on a second, because what everybody, as you guys are reacting, what is it about the cohesion of this group that you bring, right?
I really don't like not finishing things, and I like having a very specific plan to follow. And if the plan isn't specific, then quite frankly, I don't think it's a good plan. I am also quite willing to both argue with you and be argued with about ideas. And if you're not willing to defend your idea, then keep it to yourself. I very strongly believe that. Because an idea that cannot be defended is a bad one.
All right,
So I would challenge all of you.
and I think what you'll find is Luke will do exactly what he just said, but in a very nice way. Okay, so that has been my experience. So I think, because there is be a wrong way to do that, right? To argue with people all the time. So I think he's got a great way to handle it. All right, let's go back over here. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Jenny Rary, and I represent, I guess officially I represent as a business owner, and my husband and I own a business in Philadelphia Street, my Rary Benson, and our where we live at home, our backyard is the line for what just happened,
Yeah.
and, in Indiana Borough, so I.
And you don't
feel
talk
like
to
I'm-
those people, correct?
Well, we're not allowed to, by ordinance, yeah. But anyway, the idea though, that I want to represent, well, not just the idea, just another contingency or another group that I want to represent is that I work a lot with people who don't have a lot, who rent, who are underserved, who are food insecure, who are, like just, and I don't know that their interests always get represented in a thing like this, and I'd like to try to represent that. What am I most proud of? I guess my intersected Indiana and personally what I'm most proud of is the whole Christmas festival. And how we sort of brought that to the next level. What do I bring to the table? I have a lot of ideas for what I'd like to see happen in Indiana. Like I care about history, I care about tradition, but I also care about, taking us into the future and have it be something that is attractive to people to live here. So
What about in terms of recohesion?
I'm not afraid of Luke.
That's because the rest of us are.
I'm not afraid to say what I really think, like,
Okay.
and you guys will, like that or not like that at different times, but yeah, I mean, I will bring an honest opinion.
Okay.
Based on either my experiences in Indiana or based on, what I've seen.
All right, good, so you're honest. You're honest, and you're, okay,
Yeah,
good. What do we need to do to keep coming back?
I guess, just seem like we're doing something that really is going to be used.
Okay.
If I really see purpose and hope for
Yes.
what we're doing,
Yes,
that will bring it back.
okay, all right, good, thank you. All right, back over here, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Patrick. I work at IUP. I teach in the geography department, and I'm representing the Planning Commission, Regional Planning Commission for probably over 10 years now. And what am I most proud of? It is probably a combination of Indiana's historic built environment, the high quality of life that Indiana presents to its residents as in part as a result of its historic built environment. I think that Indiana is one of the top tier small towns in Pennsylvania. I think that if it was, a Facebook clickbait item that said, 10 greatest small towns in Pennsylvania, at the Wellsboroughs and the Gettysburg and Doylestown and Bellefonte and Indiana, it's a top tier small town. I think we have a vibrant business district for towns, especially in Western Pennsylvania in this class, where we haven't seen boarded up windows since the 1980s. We haven't seen buildings condemned because the roofs that just caved in. We haven't seen a sort of a contraction. And I think everybody who lives in the borough of Indiana has committed to that, and they want to see that preserved, and they want to see this high quality of life maintained. And I think that's what motivates me to be here and to live in the borough and to be a part of this. So what do I bring to the group? Probably institutional history more than anything else. That I've been in planning commission for a long time. I worked on updating the comp plan, and so I'm familiar with the old comp plan and how it was updated and reasons why it was updated. And so as a result of institutional history, I think that all of us as community members, that's more important than thinking that you know or don't know something, or that you're a professional or not a professional, or you know about planning or you don't know about planning. More important is that you're committed and you're just here, so that you have an institutional history that doesn't allow us to have to waste a lot of time talking about stuff that we already know about. And so just your participation and my participation is enough to keep me coming back.
So so the thing that'll keep me coming back is everybody's participation.
Everybody's commitment to the borough and the fact that we have a place that has a high quality of life with a great historic environment, and we're committed to trying to preserve that.
Okay.
People's level of commitment is what I think will bring me back. I think they should have it back.
So if people pull away and check out, then maybe you go with the group. So, but
Well, people pull away and check out because there's a certain amount of hopelessness that comes in.
Yeah.
So if every building you're trying to save is ultimately torn down and the businesses leave, you just have an overriding sense of hopelessness.
okay.
I think we have the opposite of that. And-
All right,
and-
I tried to capture that, and what I said, historic, what are you most proud of? Historic built environment, greatest small town in PA. You said a lot of other stuff. Is there something you want me to add there?
It's historic built environment, high quality of life. I think those are the two ones. that I'm-
All right, good, thank you. All right, let's go back over here. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Nancy Doyle. Who am I representing? Myself, but I'm also a small business owner in town with student rentals. What am I most proud of? That's gonna kind of come down to it. When we started doing student rentals in town, students had a horrible, for the most part, reputation. We were taking a lot of really down buildings, and it'd be nice. We try to treat our tenants like family, and we're trying to turn that around. Right now, I'm 47 years to count. I'm not the biggest player in the world, I'm not the smallest player. We try to do that's right all the time. That focuses in it out of my 4 daughters. My oldest daughter graduated with her undergrad in communication media from IUP. My next daughter graduated with her undergrad in speech therapy and her master's in health services from IUP. Just graduated with her master's in speech. I have another one that's in safety science. She's a junior, and an incoming freshman in safety science. So
Here at IUP.
all at IUP.
Okay.
One of the important things, and you were talking about staying as a young person, my oldest rents in town. My next one owns a house in town, and my 20-year-old owns 2 properties in town. So we're very connected to the town. You will hear people say that I don't live here. That's not necessarily true. I live in Philadelphia. I live about 20% of the time in Bucks County, and the rest of the 80% here. We still have, my husband still has a business back home that I have to go back and forth every now and then. What am I bringing to the group? I'm persistent, I'm headstrong, and all you have to do is tell me something can't be done and watch me do it. Literally, it's to hold my beer and watch this. What is going to keep me here? Everybody being honest. I'm not afraid of anybody at all. Seriously, nobody scares me. Right here. Absolutely. I will engage anybody and like, Luke, if you think you have an idea, I want to hear it, because you know what? I'm not right all the time. I'd like to think I am, but I'm certainly not. And, we need to grow as a community. I love this town. I hope that what I'm bringing is growing up somewhere else. The appreciation I have for this town is huge, because it's where all of my kids chose to settle, even though they didn't grow up there. Because they love the town so much as they do. And, that to me is the most important thing. I'd like to see that happen more often, because we have so much rain draining here, and it's sad. And, I think we all talk about college kids. I know you were joking, you'd say, college kids, I can tell you from all of my tenants, 99% of them look at it. It's not your kids, wonderful young adults. And you have that percentage, it's there. Absolutely.
But I do in life.
That is everywhere.
Sure.
So, I bring a lot of energy to stuff, so I'm hoping that
I captured it. Honesty. I want to go back to what you're most proud of, because I was really listening to the story about the renting.
my kids decided to.
Kids in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. The community being welcoming enough, it's no secret, what my one daughter is gay, and the community being welcoming enough that she didn't take a lot of, we've had our credit card stolen several times, 4 times exactly in the past 2 years. But, the community as a whole has been welcoming.
Yes.
That's been good, and just the fact that they decided to settle here because they liked it so much.
All right, good. Thank you. All right, let's go back over, Bill. Your turn? No, Nick. Where did I go?
My name's Nick Harris.
Thank you, Nick.
I guess I'm representing, I have two businesses on Philadelphia Street, two restaurants, and I also live on Philadelphia Street. So more so than the planning commission, which would be my connection to the borough, I'm always kind of personally representing my two restaurants. I'm most proud of Indiana's walkability. We walk to shop, we walk to socialize, we walk to play, and I'm looking forward to our children hopefully walking to Eisenhower. And I wish they could walk to the elementary school they're in now. But I'm most proud of Indiana's walkability. I have some big ideas that I bring to the table as to contribute to the success of this group. And I'll keep coming back. We talk about walkability.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Nick, that was great. And walkability, just unpack it just a little bit. What do you mean by that? Like, somebody that's not used to that.
Yeah, so I think that people who live in the borough often choose a pedestrian lifestyle, and its connection to not only Philadelphia Street, but I would like to see other neighborhoods become more accessible to people outside of their cars.
Everybody get that? That's no way. Okay, thank you. Now let's go to Daniel.
All right, so my name is Daniel Kakula. I'm representing, in a broad sense, IEP students and an IEP student rents in Indiana. But to get a little more specific, I am president of our regional planning student organization. So I do a lot through that, involved with town. I'm also an executive board member of our student government. So I have a lot of experience with handling that and student concerns. And I'm also a tour guide, so I take a lot of new families through Indiana and give them their first experience, kind of pointing to things and saying, this is what life is like here. But in terms of my community and borough connection, I've been a lifelong member of the county. I live in Blairsville. That's over the summer. That's where I grew up. But all my family went to IUP. Brother, sister goes here. Mom and dad both went here. So I've always been very, very attached to the borough and up itself. In terms of what I'm most proud of, being a member of the university and seeing everyone involved with it, I love how diverse a range of backgrounds and knowledge bases we have in Indiana. And I know a lot of us have said like kind of defying expectations and being much more than you'd expect from a small town. And I love getting to talk to people that are experts in so many different fields and having all those people in the community. But and then what can I bring to contribute to success? Through that role in student government, I have a lot of experience of identifying issues, especially among students on campus, and providing views. Perfect example came up today, actually. Every single one of my friends is posting on social media about the news that Sheetz is closing, the one on Wayne.
Yeah.
Every single IUP student, I'm telling you, is talking about that issue right now. But so hopefully that's something I can do is help present those. And also, you joked earlier about like people not liking college students.
Yes.
And I know you were kidding, but that is something that like people have certain perceptions. And I loved what you said about sort of defining those, helping understand everyone and bring people together. So
it's almost a goal to kind of redefine college students, right?
Yeah.
Represent them in the best of college students.
yes.
Okay.
And your dad has a tough job.
What a, it works here, right?
Dad works.
Yeah, my dad's the clerk.
My God.
Okay, good. So you have a parking ticket that I want to argue about. Daniel is your best advocate. Wonderful, thank you.
Oh, I have one last thing.
Yes.
So what must happen to keep me engaged? I want to say learning about each other and about the process.
Okay.
I already have learned a lot about some people in the community and I love doing that. So.
Daniel is going to be an incredible planner someday, so thank you, Dave. Okay, let's go back over here. Bill, you're up. And here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna interrupt you. And this, I'm not picking on you, Bill. I just looked up the clock. I just looked up the clock. We are gonna have to move a little bit quicker. I want to, it does just all out, say maybe 2 minutes. Can you do it in 2 minutes? Go.
Yeah, my name is Bill Budris, and I'm representing the planning commission, the Florida Planning Commission. My community borough connection is that I was a member, I was on the steering committee for the Elm Street Committee. I was on the zoning hearing board for maybe 8 to 10 years. Spent a couple years on council, and now I'm a member of the planning commission.
How many years did you spend on council? 2 years, got it.
It's too much.
Okay.
Most proud of Indiana is downtown again, especially appreciate the resilience. When I first came here, it was retail heavy. And it changed and adapted to become service oriented with some with retail. It's still a vibrant downtown. Also, I'm also proud of the neighborhoods, especially the R1 neighborhoods. What can I bring to the success of the group? I have some expertise, zoning, legislative on council, and of course in the planning. So I can bring some expertise regarding all three of those areas.
What about as a group? What do you, so is there something you bring that'll keep this group together?
Oh, no, look, I suppose one of the things that I can do, I can explain concepts rather well. And, perhaps I would be useful in that respect.
Yes, and I will add, Bill is one of the most patient people I've ever run into. Okay, and I don't know if maybe you are an impatient person in other areas in your life. Every time I get around you, you are very patient. So I think that's a somewhat.
I like to, when people have to say, then, you might want to destroy the audience.
That just erased all the good stuff. All right, what needs to keep happening and make you come back?
Consistent progress.
Okay.
I don't want to come here and just. Exactly. I want to see progress be made. And I want to see this process to its fruition.
Okay, all right, good. What's next? Back over, yes.
I'm Josie Cunningham, and as I look around this room, I probably know Indiana, lived here longer, oldest person in the room. Grew up on Clymer Avenue, moved to South Sixth Street, married, moved away, lived in Pittsburgh, lived in Newman, Arizona, lived in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, moved back to Indiana, Pennsylvania, lived on Church Street, then bought and lived in my township. I like it, I love it. I know Indiana, I probably know every alley in Indiana. I bring an institutional history with me. I remember when Indiana was thriving, downtown thriving. I remember Indiana prior to IUP's explosion, and then during the explosion, and now we're going through a contraction. I am the president of the Indiana Free Library Board, and I'm very proud of that fact. That building is so special to me. I have been into that building since I was 7 years old. And so I have that affiliation with downtown and with the history. I'm serving currently on the Indiana County Planning Commission. We just completed a survey, and if you don't know what that is, that's just subdivision and land movements. They hadn't been done ever. It had been thought of 33 years ago. It took us almost 7 years, Jeff, to put into fruition.
Yes.
Very proud of that. It's just going into effect. So planning is important, and Indiana is important to me. I'm on the academic committee for the Indiana Area School District, and a retired teacher in the district. I've seen my students grow up to become restaurant owners and contribute to the community. And I love the walkability of Indiana. When I moved out of White Township and I lived up in Jennifer, when I moved down, it was back. I grew up in a single family home. My mother never drove. We never had a car. I never learned to drive till I was 28 years old. So I know Indiana. I've walked everywhere in Indiana, and I think that is a great plus. And I am dedicated to keeping Indiana moving forward, and that's what we do.
What are you most proud of?
I am most proud of the energy that I feel from people about Indiana. But one thing Jennifer brought up, which I think I have to reiterate, Kevin gave us the high hopes of the population and the high perspective that Jennifer mentioned that we have marginalized people within our borough.
Yeah.
And we have to understand that, and we have to work towards making it a wider swath and inclusive.
That everybody feels well.
Yes, everyone.
I get that. All right. Josie, quickly, these last two, what do you bring to the group? What do you contribute in terms of keeping us all experience? I like that. Okay, good. What do we need to do to keep it coming back?
Don't spend years.
Don't spin your wheels, which is, I think we said that at the beginning, so that's good. Okay. A lot of go-getters in this group. Yes, sir.
I'm Jeffrey Bowden. I'm a realtor here in town. This, Berkshire Hathaway. I have most of the home on very as well. I've actually been with, it was Northwood Victoria, Tom Rose, my boss. It's been my boss for 14 years. But I lived in the borough of Tom. And that was actually a conscious decision on my part, because I had a life-changing event, first of all. And I could have picked up more to do, but I did choose to live here. And I have, I have lived other places. Probably a place that I spent a good bit of my adult life was Johnstown. And Johnstown was very, I guess, a urban grip to it, Indiana doesn't. Marginalized people you can see in Johnstown. Indiana, you don't see them. Unless you.
That's part of the concern now.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I'm just saying, you're right.
I'm gonna bring you back here.
Yeah.
So, no, it's okay. It's okay, because I want to get to some of that stuff. What are you most proud of here?
Putting the people in the community feel that the borough or the Indiana House.
Community feel?
Yeah.
Kind of write down, okay.
Like, it doesn't take long to move here and get accepted into the neighborhood in question.
Okay. All right, what about what are you contributing to keeping the group together?
Knowledge of what's going on with the local real estate market.
Things, group dynamics, what do you add here? What do you? No?
I don't know what you to say.
What's that?
I don't know what you want me to say.
Well, I'm just trying to get to the group dynamics. You say, hey, I'm gonna be on, I'm honest. I'm gonna check people. I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna ask questions. I guess.
Housing knowledge,
Housing knowledge. Okay, I'll take that. What's it gonna take to keep coming back?
progress. It needs to keep going.
Progress. Okay, good. So a check mark on progress. Where did you put this one? Over there? All right, so 3 checks on progress. Thank you. That is Carol, right?
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
oh, I'm sorry.
Last but not least,
Okay.
yes.
So who am I? I am Carol Princess, and you are my representative. They also call me Dr. Lee. Princess. For you representing everybody, I run a lot of different groups, but I'm working in Indiana WP program for getting girls interested in STEM field, former associate of students at IUP, many other roles for about 30 years. Sorry, guys. 30 years and working with Indiana Area School District, as a guest teacher, basically a social teacher, but a guest teacher, but doing other things as well. What are you most proud of, Indiana? The opportunity to interact with people at different levels and different backgrounds more easily. I traveled a lot. I'm from a big city. I love the state.
Right.
But this gives me an opportunity to work on some of the things I think that are valuable to me with the people here and try to help move us forward. What can you bring that can you contribute to the center of this group? Well, it's probably a lot. But I am a good developer, great reader, analyzer and putting things that are on paper into action.
Okay.
But that.
It does perfectly.
And, thing that must happen to keep you engaged. Is respect.
Okay.
Thank you. That's what I think. So, last general question, you guys.
We got one more person, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Somebody joined us online, so let's read what she has for us.
Yes, please do. And I want to get to Sylvia too. Okay, go ahead.
So this is from Bailey Mates. She represents a local organization, the Rep Room, and is also a resident of White Township. She's a veteran and also part of the 2S LGBTQIA+ community and an IUP student. She's also a parent and has a kid attending East Pike Elementary. She's most proud of Indiana for a sense of community. We embody a small town feel really well, which can be comforting. I bring to the group the ability to research and find resources. I believe work smarter, not harder, and let's not reinvent the wheel. I will keep showing up for the committee because I am passionate about this town, making advances in diversity and inclusion. We are a college town, and I think we could capitalize on that more. I think it's important that we try to listen to more individuals in the town and the same voices we typically hear from. I have heard from a lot of folks that attend the university voice that on campus they feel safe and welcome, but that is a bubble, and once you walk outside the bubble, it's not the same experience. I think it is important that we listen to those concerns and widen the bubble to include the whole town.
Okay, so the thing to keep her coming back is, did anybody hear it?
She just said her commitment to the
Okay,
town.
she's probably listening now. So if she types in, let us know. Sylvia.
But I'm sure you're seeing how like it's all comes together. Like there's a nice so.
So that's okay. So I'll roll on the project. We ran into Sylvia when we did the Pride event. We were doing the outreach table and listening to people talk. And she was taking lots of pictures. And so we said, hey, could you take pictures for this project? We don't have a budget for you, but we need your help. Okay. So we sort of looked her in. So we're trying to figure out a way to include her as part of the project. So if you see her taking pictures, if you are, okay, I'm gonna make an assumption you're okay with us posting social media, website, things like that, and make it a part of the plan. If you don't, at some point, just Sylvia and say, hey, I'd rather not use my picture, okay?
What is it? Saying city progress and diversity and inclusion.
Progress and diversity. All right, next slide. Thank you all for doing that. I knew it was gonna take at least a half hour. We did 45 minutes. I'm okay with that, okay? Let's keep going. All right, Nick, this is, we can skip over this. Comprehensive plan. What is a comprehensive plan? We covered a lot of it. Trey, think about what's been covered and what hasn't, and try to grab the things that hasn't, so we don't get too far down this.
Okay, so yeah, I put together a couple bullet points to try to get you guys thinking of what is a comprehensive plan, kind of keep you thinking in the right direction. So simply put, what makes a plan comprehensive is it's going to cover the entire jurisdiction. So in this case, we're not talking about all of Indiana, including White Township. We're just focused on the borough. That's our jurisdiction, and that's going to be our focus. It's going to address not only the physical elements of a place, but also the emotional elements. So a lot of people talk about how they feel there in Indiana. That's something that we want to capitalize and make sure to address just as much as anything physical, talking about development and land laws. And lastly, it deals in the long term. Typically, that's about a 10 to 15, 20-year progress. For our case here, we're looking more at 5 to 8. So the purpose of the comprehensive plan, why are we doing this? So what a comprehensive plan is going to do, it's going to identify the issues facing the community. And now, while it doesn't necessarily aim to provide solutions to those problems, we're looking to give general recommendations on how to start moving in the right direction. And it's also going to provide justification for decision makers such as planning commission, council, zoning hearing board, whatever it may be. Now, what should a comprehensive plan typically include? Usually you'll see categories such as this: housing, land use, transportation, That's pretty typical for a comprehensive plan, but that's also something that can be adjusted to fit the needs of the community and something that we're gonna be looking to you guys to help us nail down. Finally, I had an example that I was gonna walk through, but for sake of time, we don't really need to do that. But, some things you want to, oops, sorry, give me a minute.
Sorry about that, everybody.
But some things that we want to consider when forming this plan are how are we displaying information? So is it easily understandable? We want to avoid planning jargon. I know we have a couple of planners in the room. So we want to be able to talk to everybody, not just amongst ourselves. And then also important is adding images, maps, other things to help convey the context of what's written on the plan. Next, we want it to be engaging. We want it to be fun. That involves a catchy name. That's why we did. We had a couple of different options we post. We picked the one that we thought fit best. We want to use an appropriate color palette. That poster there behind you is kind of what we've been working with right now. So something exciting, something that's eye-catching. And again, we want to use graphics to display information and not just rely on written text. And then lastly, we want it to be easily accessible. So we want to have physical copies as well as electronic copies. That's something you see more of nowadays. And we want to provide these copies to the appropriate partners. So an example, like the library, that would be a great partner to have one. County, the township. And just in general, we want this to be easily accessible and transparent process for the public. But yeah, in a kind of quick kind of rundown, that's what a comprehensive plan is, and that's kind of what we're aiming to get out of you guys.
All right, any questions about that? Because that was a question and it came up several times. Any questions for Trey, myself, or some of the folks from the planning commission in terms of what it is that we're working on at 50,000 feet? Okay? Yes.
Just for clarity. We're talking about Indiana Borough, right?
Right. Yeah, we know the county's on it. It's kind of a bit better for the image, but
Because nothing on there tells me it's the borough.
Yes.
Nothing. So, because we don't have.
no, that's a good feedback.
What? Now that you pointed it out, I noticed it. Means the point still stands going.
No, yeah, it definitely does. Yeah.
Point still stands. I've captured it.
I mean,
And it's still early. We've begun a lot of the outreach, which I think is going to be something that he gets into. We've done a lot of the outreach and kind of development of the marketing and advertising for the plan.
when ideas, I like to bring ideas out.
Yeah, that's yeah, no, that too, because this is also what we're, like I said, we've done a lot of this work already, but that's also something that we want from you guys, is this kind of feedback. Because like I said, I know myself, I'm no good at graphic design.
All right,
So I
now,
take all the advice we can get.
so I always put a spell check button over here because I typically misspell things. If you
Right.
catch that, remember, let's focus on content and not Jeff's inability to spell, okay? It's gonna be bad. I know I got a school teacher in the room. All right, so here's what I want you to think about. This is important, okay? So for this project, and I'm gonna do a quick round the room, okay? And I'm gonna ask you guys to record. One of the three of you that is good at, you're doing that. Huh?
We're recording here too. Pat.
No, I want to try to catch on with you. Actually, if we take, I can help. Think about Indiana 2030, which is what we're calling the plan, okay? What is your goal for this project? Okay, go one more. I think I gave an example here, Nick. I want Indiana 2030 to be something that people use. That was mine, right? And you guys kind of said the same thing, right? That's a pretty common one. What is your goal for this project? All right, who's ready to go? Hands? Go. Yes.
Done definitively in a timely manner, in a way that can actually be utilized.
Say it again, because all these guys are tearing this stuff off.
I want it to be completed in timely manner.
Completed timely manner. That's your goal.
Well, definitively completed, not ambiguously completed.
I like, is it done?
And like
Gotta
you
think,
said,
right.
something people use, but I use in a timely manner. So if this takes 3 years to finish, a lot of things will happen that where the comp plan will have no influence on.
Right. So the 6-year saldo is a bad example.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wasn't it 33 years?
It's okay. I'm not picking on you, Josie. I was part of that process. Done in a timely manner, but definitively done. Capture that, okay? Who's next? reflective of all the people. So my goal for the comprehensive plan, I want Indiana 2030 to be reflective of every voice in this community, every voice in the community. Okay. Who's next? Hands,
I know.
hands.
I wanted
Yes.
to be presented to council and to the community at large so that they have buy-in.
Okay. Presented to council, buy-in. Well, let's get to a couple people doing this because it'll go quicker. So presented to council
And the community at large.
and community to solicit buy-in. Right? Or to gain buy-in. Solicit sounds like, hey, come on, do this. Okay, good. Who's next? You, sir. We're just gonna pick on people. What's your- You can take a pass.
I'll say it fast.
Take a pass. Bill, what's your goal for this project?
A clear policy statement covering all the NPC plan requirements.
Good. All right, so let's stop for a minute and talk about the NPC requirements. What he's referring to is what's called the municipalities planning code. Municipalities planning code, we cannot be planning without the enabling legislation. Okay, so the legislation allows us to come up with a plan for the community that becomes the guidelines for policy decisions, investment, anything like that. Okay, so the MPC outlines what's supposed to be part of a comprehensive plan. This is what Trey was trying to get to, is that there's flexibility within that. What we're learning now is that communities are designing plans, you said it perfectly, that may or may not have some of those components, but may reference those things. They may not go into detail about a particular transportation something, because the focus is in a different area. They may talk about transportation. So we're seeing plans that aren't facilities, infrastructure, transportation, the boring ones that we're used to. We're seeing new and different products that are based on what the people in the community want to plan for. Does that make sense? Okay. No, go, Bill. Okay.
Because how can you not have, if you have a
Yes.
plan for transportation,
Yes,
how can you not have a policy statement regarding transportation in the plan?
right.
It's part of the government.
Right. So I guess what I'm saying is, let's say, let me see if I can use an example. The quick answer to your question is, we're not using any DCD funding, correct? We're using ARPA funding. Or what's our funding in this project?
Well, it is.
Stamp funding through DCD.
Yeah.
Here's why I'm asking the question. There's nobody on the back end of this project that's taking the MPC, comparing what the component, because there's 9 components listed in the MPC. And they say, you have not measured up and have not covered these topics adequately. Therefore, your plan's invalid and throwing it away. So that's one thing, but that's an enforcement thing, right? So what you're saying is, how can you have a plan for a community that doesn't adequately address transportation? What I would say is, we're gonna make I don't think anybody in this room would say, we want to generate a plan that doesn't plan for how people are gonna move in this community, okay? But we may spend less time on it than we spend on housing, okay? We may spend less time than we spend on student and the decline of the university and how it's impacting this community.
But there's no relationship between all these things.
There are.
Transportation or, any of these things are already related. So they always
Yes.
have to be planned.
Yes.
If you're going to have a comprehensive plan.
Yes. Anybody want to react to this instead of just Bill and I? You agree?
Yeah, I agree that those things like all need to be looked at in, to a certain level
Yes.
in order to understand how they all come together.
How about this? What I can say, Bill, and Jenny, we're gonna do a plan that you guys, what your priorities are gonna be, what you decide is the priority. So if transportation is the number 1 priority, we can design a plan so that that becomes the number 1 priority. It's not a matter of omitting. It's not either or, Bill. What I'm saying is, we have the ability to make decisions about where we spend our time in terms of the plan. But you're right, it's all interrelated. We couldn't plan a nice park and not plan for transportation. Does that help at all?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
If I may make a suggestion.
Yes.
I believe the transportation is covered in a current.
Yes.
22 plan.
Yes.
Now, if we don't spend time discussing the transportation issues, and we just simply use.
Absolutely. 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 On Go ahead.
The plan has to
Commissioners
be-
Board, put,
Can't put in there that you
transportation.
want to build a, multi-million dollar, I mean, the residents don't have the money for that. I have a residence.
She always says that. Yes.
Still,
All right, let's,
like, it has to be feasible. It has to be a plan, but it can't be like.
crazy. You can't be crazy. All right, so let's go to goals, going back to goals, right? Yes, ma'am.
So are we going to gather input from the people as well? Because it seems like most of the people here on the planning. There's only a couple of us,
Yeah,
but what about the people who these are trying to be?
yes. Are we gonna be doing outreach engagement? Outreach engagement, we are, and we're not gonna have time tonight, so I cannot believe we have lost all our time. So let's gather a couple more and then we'll keep a couple more goals for this project.
Jeff, everyone,
Yes,
I would just say internally, as a part of the consultant staff, but being a part of the group is one of the things me and Jeff talked about when I first came onto this project. Is we want to have our plan be something that we're proud of, stacked against other plans. When we talked about what we're proud of as a community, we said we stack up well against other towns in our region.
we'd like,
Plan should be the same thing.
to win an award. Okay, good. Well, yes.
One for me, I'd like to say, kind of clear and communicable answers to people that inquire about it or, want to know about our plans after it's produced. I know like college students are busy people and a lot of them say, okay, so what did you guys talk about for campus integration? I want to be able to have clear and communicable answers for people about what we've actually produced and what the goals of it are and the issues we've identified.
Right, and maybe a summarized version, here are the three big things. We're seeing that stuff now, right? Can we put that out there? That's good. Did you guys capture that? Yeah. Okay, good. Any other goals to capture? Okay, let's keep moving. Thank you for that. Here's what I want to say about the zoning ordinance, because you are going to be getting some emails. So first of all, the relationship between the zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan. Kevin, we are close on time, but if I give you, Nick, and Bill a chance to talk about the work you've already done and the zoning component to this, it'll keep me from talking too much. Okay? Good. Can you tackle it?
You mean right now?
Right now.
Okay, so the whole idea of a comprehensive plan is it's a community's vision for the community's future. Now, there has to be outreach, there has to be an overlap between elected officials who sign off on it and staff people who implement it. And once this vision is created, put down in a comprehensive plan, and then it's implemented through the zoning ordinances. So zoning ordinances are supposed to then reflect the plan. And that's sort of like the legal implementation of what the community vision is all about. So if the last time it was done was 2011, was locally at the date when the Borough Council asked Planning Commission to tackle it and updated it and update the comprehensive plan. So we're working with the update for it. Also, it's not unusual, and it's happened in Indiana, it's not unusual for the ordinance to get a little out of whack from the comp plan. Because the ordinances were based on the old comp plan. And sometimes there's a lot of ordinances there. You have things that have been in there since 1952 that doesn't necessarily reflect the community. So ultimately, once you have a comprehensive plan that everybody agrees upon, then you work through the zoning ordinances to make sure it matches up. So it's just something that it's normal for the zoning ordinance to have a creep and get a little bit out of touch with the community's vision. So ultimately, we want to bring them back in sync, and so that the zoning ordinance reflects the comp.
Now, I just wanted, thank you. That was perfect. You must be a professor or somebody.
I'm just trying to hit the right time here.
All right, and then
Just concerns is
the other thing is the work that you did on the 2011 and bringing it up to date. It's worth briefly talking a minute about that because these guys wouldn't know that.
I think in terms of what was really brought up to date, so the update had to reflect the goals of the original comp plan. So there's every comp plan has a public outreach. And so that the community is part of it. That's the outreach and engagement. And so in order to update the comp plan, we couldn't just add things that weren't a part of the original outreach. Because that's what reflected the community's goals and wishes. It's just that some of that became outdated. Some of the things have already gone by, so that if there was a vision to consider some aspect of the community in a certain way, it's quite possible that we already did that. And so the comp plan was reflecting when we hadn't done it yet. So the update had to reflect what we did to address that issue. So some of those things had to be updated to reflect where Indiana is now. It's probably the thing that you can most appreciate is the introduction in the early parts of the comp plan reflected where we were in 2011, which means that the data was being from the 1990s. And the description of Indiana's community was sort of 1990s, even 1980s, outdated, like, oh, the stores are closing and they're going out to the mall. And that's ancient history. So that had to be updated to where we are now. And so when you read the update, you'll see that new data was pushed into the 21st century and where Indiana is as the hub to Indiana County and the central city to sort of like a metropolitan Indiana that includes suburbs surrounding Indiana are considered that Indiana is an important place and maybe even the most important hub in the county is where we should be considering ourselves and not some poor town that lost all of its stores to the wall, which is ancient, outdated, and the community has already adjusted for that. So that's what the point of the update was, to kind of like bring us back into sync without changing the goals of the community that were established in the original plan. Go ahead, Jenny.
Go ahead.
You have a question?
Yeah. Hang on. Once, I'm sorry. Let me I want to grab this because I want to be respectful of your time.
Yes.
Do we have, is there interest? I would like to at least finish this item. The rest of it, I think we can capture in email, meaning I'm going to follow up and say, hey, what do you think about this? Can you give me some feedback? Okay, because there's that couple of moments. We didn't get to cover some of the topics. We're going to have to maybe grab them next month, next time we see each other, like some of the things that you guys talked about, certainly some of the objectives that I have. For finishing this item, do I have your permission to extend our time by 10 minutes? It's okay. If it's okay. Thumbs up to extend 10 minutes. Okay, Carolyn, it's okay. Bill, you may have to go. It's okay. It's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, yes, I'll do it.
Well, how about this? If you have to go, you have to go, and we understand, okay? But we'll try to grab it in 10 minutes. Now, Nicola's hands up was up first. I'll come back.
I feel like the worst or the complications is because the ordinances do not match any, like what you were trying to achieve in the comp plan by updating it. And when that happened, the ordinances obviously are against some of what you're trying to achieve. And then our enforcement officers can't enforce it right because they enforce according to the ordinance.
The challenge was the comp plan has to come before the ordinances. So you have to be clear on a comp plan before the ordinance. And so the initial challenge of updating the zoning was that's a very difficult, complicated and potentially expensive process. So that you had to update the comp plan before you could even tackle updating the zoning. So that had to come first. And then this is part of the vision for, I assume, going to update the zoning, correct?
We're using. So what I'm going to try to paraphrase it because what happens when you hear us talk is because we're neck deep in it. We'll just refer and assume that you catch. So the planning commission has been working on updating the comprehensive plan. They've done it without a consultant and without any help, and they've just been doing it. And it's mainly been Kevin and working drafts and by the rest of the commission. So
through community development.
Community development,
a key part of this.
Right. So some elements have been updated. Your question is, are we using community input to shape the zoning? ordinance?
No, it was Nicole's question.
Nicole's question was the relationship between the two projects. What was your
Yeah.
question?
That, let's find the most complicated, try to update this because, you know, we can update it all we want, but if it's against our ordinances, then. Like, I think that's Nick's biggest frustration.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts would be a perfect example. So let me back up and make it elemental, because I think this may help. Let's say that in a comprehensive plan, actually this was done. We said that it's important to us that students be located close to the IUP campus. Okay, we maybe did a survey. We talked to students, we said, or what they told us was, it's very important that we are close to campus. That's the ideal place. So if you're gonna build student housing, we want it to be within a few blocks of the university. I'm not saying this is true. I'm working a hypothetical here. So I know that you may or may not have rentals close to campus.
All but two,
All of it's in.
and they're for grad students, so.
Okay, so you could support that idea at a basic level, right? They like to be close to campus. Is that fair? So, it's awesome. What is this?
That is the public district. Housing University, also.
Public district, this is, I don't know, yeah, university is zoning. He is very, very proud of the online zoning map, by the way.
It's great.
It's creative, it's amazing. So if we, as a community, decided that from a land use standpoint, we're going to put students, if it's a student, or maybe we say we want all public buildings to be within this 2 blocks of the community, right? City Hall, this, whatever that land use is. We would articulate that within the comprehensive plan, then the zoning ordinance becomes the enforcement tool for that, those land uses, those policy ideas. Okay,
I can give you probably a good example that actually is workable and something that we did. So that the old zoning ordinance would have had parking definitions and parking regulations. So it would say something like, if you're gonna put a bowling alley in, you have to have 27 parking spaces. And so what was happening because of the zoning is if people had a business in town, due to the zoning requirements, they would have to buy 2 buildings, tear one down and turn it into a parking lot to fulfill the goals of the ordinance. Now, that was terrible. We don't want to be tearing down 1 building for every 1 business and replacing it with a parking lot. So that's a perfect example of how these things got out of whack. Like back in 1952, when people were building bowling alleys on the edge of town and there was department stores downtown that required a lot of parking, it may have made sense, but it doesn't make sense anymore. And our own ordinances were destroying our town. It's because the business owners didn't want to buy 2 buildings to tear one down to fulfill the ordinance. So for us, working with a comp plan that says, no, we want to preserve historic buildings and we want a walkable city. We want pedestrian orientation. We don't want to tear buildings down for parking lots. That's what our vision said. And so that's what our comp plan reflected, but the ordinance didn't reflect that. So then we had to rewrite the ordinance in this one example to say, we have to remove some of these parking restrictions so it doesn't harm. So that's kind of an example of how the two relate to each other that actually happened and was applicable to our parking.
Good. Sorry.
Excuse me?
I'm saying though that it's a plan, right?
Yeah.
And then from the plan, the ordinance are partly created.
Right. So,
Okay, so you have to have a plan that's long term
correct.
and ordinance doesn't reflect that.
Correct.
Growth as well as a concern of the people, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you keep moving forward.
True. Yes. And so your comprehensive plan has to be updated. And then your ordinances have to be updated. So this Indiana 2030 is the update of the comprehensive plan so that the zoning ordinances can then reflect that.
They will be updated as well.
Correct.
Correct. That's the reason these projects are so huge. But there's been a delay in doing like the zoning ordinance because the cost prohibitive. How much versus the cost?
Wow.
110, 120,000. It's big bucks.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just, all I want to do is impulse, because I do want to, we can pick this back up when we get back together next month. Because these are really good conversations. You can't continue to be part of this group if we don't get to some of this stuff. It's okay. Let yourself relax and have these conversations. The difficulty is we're trying to fit it in 90 minutes. So we're always going to be challenged by this. I want to come back to the objectives because we weren't able to get to everything, but I want to capture the ones that we did. Did we get to know each other? Can we check this? Okay. Working understanding of Indiana 2030 and the zoo. I don't think we got it. What do you guys think? You have maybe 50% of what you need to be able to do, okay? Is 50% fair? But that maybe 50, I generally understand the comp plan, and its relationship, that's fine.
Zoo,
And then zoning ordinance update project.
zoning ordinance updates.
It's just too much to say. I mean,
But with that, how about we raise your hand if you kind of understand the relationship between comp plan and zoning now, just the basic. idea.
Yes.
Raise your hand. Yeah, I'd say that's more than 50%. I'd say that's like 80% at least.
Okay. Well, I was thinking about the mechanics of the project. So she's trying to get, so good. Okay, good. Kevin, good. 80%. Did we establish roles and responsibilities steering committee? Kinda. List the goals for Indiana 2030. I think we got this. Is there any other goals out here that you have for this project you didn't get to share? Because we got sidelined a little bit. Go ahead.
I thought of it after the fact. I think we need a better form of communicating with the public.
Say that again.
A better form of communicating information to the public is the general meeting.
Okay, so the goal is for this comp plan is better communication with public.
And this sounds like the right time to insert a goal like that, trying to figure out if, for example,
What is the current? communication with the public?
that's kind of the problem. There isn't.
There isn't, like,
It's not like, and they do trust, so we gotta give them credit for trust.
You know, Facebook.
Yeah, there's Facebook, there's the radio, there's posting, there's that, but then you get a lot of people coming in after the fact saying, well, this, I didn't know this was happening. And,
press release.
but you gotta get people to read them.
What I think,
Well, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it.
That's the point, but we're gonna make them drink, that's my point.
good.
You're trying to reach people where they are, and for you, being student, reaching out to the other students you can.
Right.
For me, I'm happy to take what we're doing to my tenants and say, hey, here's what we're doing, we're part of this community, happening in food tension.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt because I took your 10 minutes. One more goal? Anything? Okay. All right. Back over here, last thing. We didn't identify a logo for the plan. I'm going to send it to you. You're going to vote via email. Does that work? Does that work? Yes. List of, we're going to have to do this via email, or we'll do it first thing next meeting. Create, develop. So we got 2 out of about, and I didn't even get to these over here. All right, so we're always going to be crunched on time. Thank you for staying over. Is there any final comments for the group? Did a lot of good work. I know it felt a little bumpy. It'll get cleaner over time. All right, thank you for being here. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll see you next month.
Next meeting will be July 27th.
July 27th is going to be an artist in. They've got that really neat area in the back. We're going to set up some tents. We're going to try to be outside. Okay? Try to be outside. If it's rainy, we'll just move inside into the back. You may go to the arrangements.
Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you for making time for this. Yeah,
Oh, crap. There was a whole.
Northeast.
I
Did you get it? Thank you. Thanks online. Thank you.